Hey everybody, welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm Michael Noland. Tonight we're going to be talking about the rock band Styx, its history, this never-ending feud between prominent members, and where the band stands today. You know, it doesn't matter what you think of this band, they have firmly secured their place in rock history. Or at least that's my story, and I'm gonna Styx with it. All right, so first of all, just to let you guys know, I am currently in between shooting videos, re-listening to the catalog from Styx. You know, I don't think I ever really gave this band a real fair shake, and so that's why I'm doing that. The reason for that is probably based on their hits that I heard on the radio back in the day. It was always hit and miss with them. As a matter of fact, the same thing goes for Journey. You know, I loved the first Journey and Styx album for that matter a whole lot, but both bands started changing direction, and in my head they were nothing more than a pop prog band. Now I say prog very small, all right? That's the way I saw them. But I have to admit, when they hit it right, I would love their songs. Now, the band has basically disbanded a few times, and all three times were caused by a lot of animosity between band members, primarily band members and their lead singer and predominant songwriter, Dennis DeYoung. When they had finally gotten back in the early 90s and the band was ready to tour and Dennis DeYoung needed another 6 months, they decided to fire him. Now, if you listen to their manager's story, he says this was only done because they needed to promote this album, they were going to be out on the road, and that they couldn't wait for Dennis to be ready. An excuse that just kept going over the years, I suppose? Anyway, the manager said he knew that Dennis DeYoung wouldn't like this. When he spoke to Dennis, Dennis says, "Nobody will ever come to see you without me." Also, in a recent interview with Tommy Shaw, Tommy says that he's let go of all his old demons, that he appreciates Dennis DeYoung's input into the band, some of his songs, and commended him. But when he talks about letting go in that fashion, he spoke specifically about all the people that were bothering him, and he mentally dismissed them. And when I read that article, which came out before the article we're going to discuss tonight, I thought that it made Tommy Shaw look very shallow. But don't get me wrong, that doesn't let Dennis DeYoung off the hook. In a recent interview, he had plenty to say, and as far as I'm concerned, the waters don't run too deep with this gentleman either. Which gets us to the point of tonight's video. We're going to discuss this article, this interview with Dennis DeYoung, and we're going to take a look at what he had to say, basically directly in response to what Tommy Shaw had to say in the interview I was talking about before. Here the article starts off by saying, Dennis DeYoung has issued a pointed response to his former Styx bandmate, Tommy Shaw. Now, the article then covers a short synopsis of what was going on with that interview with Tommy Shaw that we just discussed. Evidently, Dennis DeYoung wasn't very impressed with what Tommy had to say. He said, "A quarter of a century after the fact, Tommy Shaw has an epiphany." No snarkiness there, Dennis. Now, in that interview, Tommy Shaw had a lot of good things to talk about the song The Best of Times. Now, what does Dennis DeYoung have to say about that? Well, he said, "Well, thanks, T. That's mighty kind of you. And you are correct. your solo on that song is perfect. So is the one on First Time. You can sure pick the right notes given that there's so many of them to choose from. So where does this leave us? This leaves us with a Tommy Shaw in denial on one hand and an unforgiving Dennis DeYoung on the other. Now, one of the things that Dennis DeYoung was known for was always having to be in control. That's the story from former members who have worked with him over the years. As a matter of fact, that's the story of the band's manager as well. And apparently there has got to be some truth to this, because here's what he is trying to accomplish. He says next, "I sure wish you would have invited me back to this tour to sing this one. It is one of my favorites." But he doesn't stop there. He goes on further. "In case you have forgotten, there's a bunch more that you guys are playing that I could sing and play as well. Like Mr. Roboto." All right, so obviously that's another dig at Tommy, because, Mr. Roboto, as a single, got a lot of flack from both fans, some critics, as well as former band members. Personally, I kind of dig the tune. That's one of the ones that seeped into me. But here's my final point tonight in the video, folks. Why would this band want Dennis DeYoung back? You see, they're not quite like Foreigner, who are just playing the hits, although that's primarily what they're doing, but they're still making brand new music. Their last two albums have gotten great reviews. They're still alive and kicking. They are still creating. Dennis wants to come back and sing his hits. It's almost like he wants a traveling oldies show, and they are dangerously close to being exactly that just by touring with Foreigner alone. But you know what? The question to the tribe tonight is just one out of curiosity. Let me know what you think of this band. If you are a hard-nosed fan of this band, speak out. Tell me what I should be listening for as I go over these tracks, giving them a second chance. And if you don't care for the band, speak up as well. There's room for discourse in the comments on this channel, folks. All right, so that's the video for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it, and please, if you did so, give me a thumbs up. That always helps distribute the video to a wider audience. It's a big help for channel growth. And by the way, speaking of channel growth, if you haven't subscribed to this thing we call the tribe, it is so freaking easy, it will astound you. Watch this. All you have to do is hit that subscribe to the tribe button. Notice when I do that, that thing happens, and you'll be notified of all of my future videos if you continue to tap, almost used the wrong hand there, didn't I? That notification bell. All right, guys, I'm Michael Noland. This is the bottom line as I see it. It's in those comments I was talking about where you and we become the tribe.